Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Sports Talk with Austin, your daily dose of sports and entertainment. And today, it is official. The Week 5 AP poll top 25 of college football has officially been announced. It has finally came out. And here today, I'm going to take you through all of it, give you my thoughts, breakdowns, reactions, and what I thought. So let's jump right in, shall we? So starting at number one, no change. Georgia is still number one after their dominating win at home on Saturday against Trent Dilford and UBA. Georgia has, for the most part, looked like the best team in the country as of late, but they have had their struggles, and I think Georgia is showing signs that they can be beat, that they are a little vulnerable, and I think Georgia at number one is all just for right now. Now, coming in at number two, you've got the Michigan Wolverines, who Jim Harbaugh, off his 3 game suspension, first game back against Rutgers. Michigan has looked pretty good, with the exception of the game against Bowling Green earlier last week. J.J. McCarthy throwing 2 picks, probably should have thrown a third. To this time, they were opening up Big Ten conference play against the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. Rutgers was giving them a push there for a little bit, and then Michigan took over their defensive line, won the game, and Michigan at two. Many people have made the argument maybe you could jump Michigan ahead of Georgia. I don't see it because Michigan has been, a little inconsistent. Rutgers and Bowling Green have gotten the best of them, but that's how it is sometimes. I think Michigan, Georgia, you could flip one, two, but I think this is the correct order. And coming in at number three now is the Texas Longhorns. Are they officially back? Well, they've looked pretty good. You know, the thing was with Texas is did were they going to fall off after the Bama win? Was Texas going to do Texas things? They've looked pretty sharp. They've looked good against after that struggle against Wyoming. They looked pretty good, got it together in that third or fourth quarter. Baylor, they never showed any signs of not looking good. And I think Texas at three is very well fine at this point, especially with their win over Alabama. I think Texas, they got a lot of momentum. Let's see if they can keep it up this week against Kansas. Coming in at number four is the Ohio State Buckeyes, coming off a fantastic win on Saturday night against Notre Dame. I mean, just crazy. I mean, the guts for Ryan Day to run the ball on that third and goal play with about 3 seconds left. They run the ball. No one was over on that side. Ohio State wins on a walk-off touchdown. Unbelievable. After everyone had counted them out and said, "Oh, you can't hang with Notre Dame. You're not physical enough. You're not big enough." And Ohio State, Kyle McCord hung in there, made some big boy throws, and Ohio State looked really good. And now that they have this win over Notre Dame, I mean, the sky's the limit now because Ohio State, you can make the argument their next biggest game is going to be Penn State coming up at home, and then make an argument that Michigan is those are the only 2 games you could possibly see, help build Ohio State their resume. But them getting this win over Notre Dame was very crucial. I mean, Ohio State now controls their own destiny. There was talk of if they lost that game, what would happen, because then with the back half of their Big Ten play beginning with Penn State, Michigan, well, we don't have to worry about that. Ohio State took care of that business, and here they are, 4-0, getting Big Ten play started this week. But Ohio State at 4, I think that's the right spot for them, especially after a monumental win. Coming in at number 5, now on to number 5. Coming in at number 5 is the Florida State Seminoles. Someone else who came in off a monumental win after a 31-29 win over Boston College, surviving the trap game scare, as we like to say, and then to them to finally many people call the changing of the guard. Florida State finally beat Clemson in Death Valley, and now Florida State, there's a case that you can make the argument Florida State, Texas, Ohio State have all outperformed Georgia and Michigan. In my opinion, you can make that case because look at their resumes compared to those other twos, but they have had some slip ups. Like I've said, Boston College, was one of those. It was like, what are you doing, Florida State? You're supposed to be better than that. But, I believe that was just hopefully once in a while kind of thing for them. But on to this week, I think, for them to go into Death Valley, to be gutsy and to win the game the way they did, hats off to Florida State. We may be looking at the best team in the ACC, maybe even arguably in college football. After the way Jordan Travis and company played, just really great stuff. Speaking of the best ways the teams have played, number 6, the Penn State and Indy Lions. Boy, oh boy. You talk about a test, Iowa and Penn State. A lot of people thought Illinois is going to be a good game for Penn State, but that's not how we're going to decide if Penn State's legit or not. Iowa's going to be that game. Well, they beat them 31-0, shut them out, made Iowa look pedestrian. And Penn State, I think, is the real deal. I mean, Drew Aller, that defense. I think James Franklin has got himself a very special team. I know it's cliche to shade for them because Penn State's always got a special team. They just never use it right. I agree, but I think they legit have a special team, and I think they could possibly beat Ohio State or Michigan or both if they play their cards right. But Penn State at 6, I think, after what they did Saturday, curb stomping Iowa and the way that they did, and people hold Iowa in high regard, Penn State jumping up a spot, good stuff there. Now coming in at number 7, the Washington Huskies. Washington was explosive. They in my opinion, maybe next to USC and maybe Oregon, maybe have the best offense in all of college football. And that's not crazy to say because Michael Penix, you look at some of the stats he's putting up, he's put over 230 plus yards, 300-yard games with multi touchdowns, and Washington's just humming along. Now, granted, they haven't played nobody of magnitude yet. Michigan State, they're a shamble of them former selves. Boise State, if they could get them together, maybe that'll look better, but right now it's not looking as good. And Cal is Cal. Cal is just bad. And, Washington, they're just taking care of business, and their offense is looking really good on both sides of the ball. I think Washington, the sky's the limit for them. Coming in at number 8, the USC Trojans. Now, I would like to point this out. I said in my prediction video last week that USC Arizona State could be a potential trap game, a little scare game for USC, and it was USC winning 42-28. The scoreboard is not always indicative of how the game played out, and I think USC showed a little bit of weakness. They showed that they can be beaten. There is a kink in their armor, and Arizona State, who's obviously not the best team, we all know that. But USC up to this point looked pretty good. Their offense has been explosive, just like Washington's. And their defense has been so. But this past Saturday, they kind of looked a little like they have a kink in their armor. And that's not just, Arizona State kind of showed up. If you could get USC to slow down, you could kind of slow their offense down. And I think that's a lot of the reason why USC came down a couple spots, because you're not supposed to play Arizona State that close. But it was at Arizona State, and and they have Colorado this week, on the road, so it could have been like a little look ahead. But USC at 8, I won't say it's concerning, but it's definitely something to watch out for, because if they keep playing these teams close like they did last year, it could hurt their chances once we get to CFP time. So coming in at number 9, another Pac-12 team, the Oregon Ducks, who just, let's put it frankly, absolutely smacked Coach Primetime and Colorado. As much as I don't like to say it, Oregon looked like they were not only the better team, but they were coached better. They would look like they were better everything this past Saturday. And Bo Nix looked like a Heisman contender, and he just made it look easy. I mean, Oregon took care of business, looking explosive. The Ducks have got things working. Coming in at number 10, the Utah Utes, another Pac-12 team, and coming off a win 14-7 in Rice Eccles against the UCLA Bruins without Cam Rising, who is still out of the picture. And many of college football fans, including myself, are wondering how long can Utah keep this going? Because without Cam Rising, eventually when they get to the Oregons, the USC, and Washingtons, they may start to slip just a hair because their offense has shown signs of being very beatable. I know the defense of Utah has kept them in a lot of games this year, have won them a lot of games. And I think Utah, if their offense can put up anywhere from 10 to 17 points, I think their defense can hold them while Cam Rising is gone. But he needs to get back quick and soon if they want a chance to possibly contend for the Pac-12 title, maybe with CFP. I'm rooting for you, Utah. I'm rooting for you, but Cam Rising is the heart and soul, and they need him back very soon if they want to get anywhere in this stage of college football. Now, coming in at number 11, you got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and I'll say this: Notre Dame played a heck of a game against Ohio State. I mean, it took everything Ohio State had and then some. It even took late heroics. And Notre Dame, we're going to learn a lot about them. Because Notre Dame, they got the benefit of the doubt. Losing by 3 points on the last second play. Because Sam Hartman was poised, he was confident. Audrey Estime looked really confident, looked really good running that rock. Notre Dame's got a lot of things working, but it really hurts this loss to Ohio State really hurts their CFP chances because Notre Dame does not have as many chances to make this up as if they were in a conference like Ohio State. If they would have lost, they would have still had a chance knowing that they got Penn State and Michigan on that schedule for sure, and likely both those teams could be ranked in the top 5, top 10, so it would have made a better chance. So now Notre Dame has to they do have to win out. They have to beat Duke this week, then beat my guys at Louisville next weekend. Then they got beat USC, Clemson, all these teams that they want any hope and hope for some chaos. But Notre Dame, I feel your pain on that, pain losing a heartbreaker like that, but hopefully you can bounce back and get things right. Now, coming in at number 12, the Alabama Crimson Tide, who look like they got things right. Jalen Milroe was started back in at quarterback. Nick Saban made the call. Milroe, you're in, you're going in. And he looked okay. Now, he did throw that pick, but, that happens. But Alabama, their defense, they were able to lean on the defense and lean on, not forcing too many things. And they were playing Ole Miss, and Ole Miss tends to come up a little short, just like Notre Dame does in the big game. And here we are. Alabama is now 2-1. Can they keep it rolling? Can the defense hold the explosive offenses just enough that where Alabama could squeak out some wins? We are definitely going to see. But Alabama, good win this weekend, and hopefully they can keep it going, especially for all the Tide fans out there. And hopefully they can keep it going. Now, coming in at number 13 is the LSU Tigers. Now, they had a scare. Arkansas, on the road, almost stunned LSU on the road at night. but Jaden Daniels and that LSU offense was able to weather the storm and keep them from losing that game. But LSU has definitely got some things they need to clean up. But their offense, this is a good win, but you can't rely. Their defense has definitely got to fix this issue. But their offense looks like it's okay still, but the defense has got to fix this, or else you may not be so lucky next time against Arkansas. Arkansas seems to give LSU a heck of a game every single time they play. I don't know if Arkansas is just LSU just can't play Arkansas as well. I don't know, but LSU at 13. Now coming in at number 14, coming off a 14, the Oklahoma Sooners coming off a 20-6 win on the road in Nieper Stadium in Cincinnati against the Cincinnati Bearcats. Oklahoma, their defense looks very improved under Brent Venables. Their offense looking explosive. Their offense is looking fine tuned and ready. But Oklahoma, we're going to learn a lot about them in a couple of weeks when they play Texas. Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma. This is the best defense. This is the best defense they've had in a while, and I think Oklahoma. They keep carrying this forward and possibly even win the Red River Showdown. Oklahoma could win the Big 12 and maybe even make a reappearance in the CFP. They're looking really good, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Brent Venables has to put out there, because I think this is the best Oklahoma's looked in quite a while, especially after the disaster they had last year. That was just a disaster, which wasn't Brent Venables' fault. Lincoln Riley took everybody and he was given a pile of chicken poop, and he tried to make chicken salad, and it just didn't go well. But we will see how much of that he has turned around, and we will see in a couple weeks against Texas. Now, coming in at number 15 is the North Carolina Tar Heels, a team that I thought maybe would tend to struggle against Pitt this past weekend, but they look pretty good. They look pretty good against Pitt, not going to lie. They look pretty good. Drake May, after those couple shaky drives, they got it together. Defense made some plays, kept it together. North Carolina looking pretty good. North Carolina looking good. They've got a big game this coming up in a couple weeks against Miami. Let's see how much North Carolina can keep this rolling. I think if they can keep this rolling, their offense can keep doing what it's doing. The defense keep up what it's doing. North Carolina could jump in the polls big time. Now, coming in at number 16, you've got the Wazoo Cougars, Washington State. Now, they're coming off a shocking game. I had picked Oregon State this past weekend, but Cam Ward and that Cougars offense is looking very, very formidable. Washington State, I wasn't familiar with them as far as I know who they are as a program, but as far as their team, I couldn't name you 2 or 3 different players other than maybe Cam Ward and a couple others. But Washington State, I haven't got to see them much, but I watched them this past Saturday. They looked really, really good. They looked really good. I will say they're going to be a tough out in the Pac-12. I said Washington State could go 7-5. I scratched that in my Pac-12 prediction video. Scratch that. They could go 9-3, 10-2, especially with the way their schedule lines up. Could very well be a possibility. But don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. As my good buddy Jackson Johnson over at the Jacksonian says, by the way, check him out. Great stuff. He has a recent interview with Jay Stevens up. Go check it out. But yeah, Washington State is very, very good, and I think they're going to be a very formidable opponent in the Pac-12. Now, coming in at number 17 is the Dookie Blue Devils. Boy, oh boy, another team I was wrong about. I called Duke's schedule soft. I didn't think they were going to be any good. This is going to be another down year. Boy, is Duke proving me wrong. Duke and Leonard Riley and that Mike Elko are proving me wrong day by day, game by game. I'm sorry, Duke. I will give you all the credit in the world. I will give you all the credit now. You're for real, and you're going to give Notre Dame a heck of a challenge on Saturday, especially since game day is coming there and the lights are going to be on the brightest. Oh boy. But yeah, Duke looking impressive against Northwestern and UConn and those teams after their big win against Clemson. Duke's looking really good. Let's see how they do against Notre Dame, and then we will know how far Duke could possibly go in the polls. But Duke at 17, coming off a very big win, coming off that big win against Clemson, and just keeping the momentum going. Offense, defense, both sides of the ball looking very well. Now coming in at number 18, you've got the Miami Hurricanes. Miami off that another team who got another big win over ACC win over the SEC. Miami beat Texas A&M. Miami looks to be officially back and ready to go again because their offense is looking mighty fine with Tyler Van Dyke and those guys. The Miami defense seems to be flying around. I think the Hurricanes have all the potential in the world. You know, normally Miami, I would say, could possibly fall apart, but it doesn't look like it right now. Miami looks like they're going to keep this thing together, and I hope they do. I hope North Carolina and Miami both are unbeaten when they meet in 2 weeks because I would like to see that matchup, and plus, it's good for college football. But Miami is looking very good right now, and they're coming off of a big win against A&M a couple weeks ago, and they've kept it rolling against Temple and Bethune Cook. Way to go, Miami. Coming in at number 19, the Oregon State Beavers. Now, the Beavers, had a little bit of a rough weekend. They were not able to run the ball. Washington State got to DJ Uyunlele a couple times. Oregon State, this wasn't their best game today, but it was in Pullman. Oregon State tends to play not as great away from Weaver Stadium. I think Oregon State, I think they're going to bounce back this week. I think they're going to play Utah really tough. I haven't beaten Utah, but I would not be surprised if Utah wins. But I think Oregon State could bounce back. They're at home. They could get a dub. I think Oregon State, once they're back home, I think they'll get it together. But for them to come down a couple spots after their performance, I think it's justified because they did not look good, and I think it's the worst they've looked today. And Washington State looked great, as I said, but Oregon State, hopefully they can get it together, and DJ can get some time. Coming in at number 20, you got the Ole Miss Running Rebels. Now, Ole Miss, like I mentioned, at number 12 against Bama, didn't look good. Quayshawn Junkins, Jackson Dart, they just didn't look comfortable all day long. It was a mess for Ole Miss. And Lane Kiffin, once again, in the big game, could not get it done. Well, Ole Miss, hopefully they can get it done this weekend. Hopefully they can get things back on track because Ole Miss offense is really, really good. It's near the top of the nation, almost every stat. But last week against Bama, it did not look like that. Hopefully Ole Miss can get this thing turned around because Ole Miss has looked explosive. They beat the best Power 5 team in Tulane, arguably. A good win over a very good Georgia Tech team, I would like to think. Especially, the way their offense has been. And Pete Gold seems to have that defense working. But the defense still couldn't win the day because Alabama's defense was just that much better. Now, coming in at number 21, you've got the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, Tennessee finally got back on track, finally, against UTSA after that horrible, horrible, horrible performance in the swamp. That was just horrible. But I digress, people. Tennessee against UTSA, although they didn't have Frank Harris, UTSA didn't have Frank Harris, so there is a little bit of a handicap there. But Tennessee did look really good, and Joe Milton looked comfortable again. But we're going to have to see, can Tennessee go on the road, win some big games? Because Tennessee, when they went to the swamp, did not look very good. But they looked good this week. They got their bounce back win. They've got some big games coming up. They got A&M. They've got Bama. They got Kentucky. I think we're going to learn a lot about them in the coming weeks. But Tennessee got back on track this weekend. Now coming in at number 22 is the Florida Gators. The Gators, who came up 3 spots after being ranked at 25, I believe, last week. Florida coming off a big win against Charlotte. Well, they did what they were supposed to. They didn't have a letdown, and now Graham Mertz is starting to look comfortable in this Gators offense. And Florida has got Kentucky this week. It's going to be a big prove-it game. Their second game in the SEC. I think Florida, Graham Mertz, that goes a long way. I think Billy Napier finally may have found something. As long as Mertz doesn't turn over the ball, Florida's going to look the way they looked against Tennessee and Charlotte and McNeese State. Florida's looking like they're finding their rhythm, and let's see if they can pull off some more big games before we ready to crown Florida up in the top 15, top 20. But coming in at number 23, many people believed this team should have been ranked last week. Missouri, who coming off a just fantastic win, a 61-yard field goal win against K-State, Kansas State, and many people were like, why isn't Missouri ranked? They had a better win than Florida. Well, you look at it in the totality where Tennessee was ranked and Florida was unranked, and for them to beat Tennessee in the swamp the way they did was not as impressive as the Kansas State win because K-State is a Big 12 team. But this week against Memphis, was there a letdown? There absolutely was not. Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz, seems like he saved his job. And Missouri, I apologize. I had you going 3-9. You're unbeaten, 4-0. You're looking really good. You're even close to bowl eligibility. I think Missouri, I think the sky's the limit for them. I'm happy for them. I can't wait to see more Missouri football, especially against Memphis. They got the running game going. Brady Cook looked really good. He looked like he was composed and comfortable. Missouri is going to be a tough out in the SEC. Coming in at number 24, you got the Kansas Jayhawks. Lance Leopold has got Kansas ranked for the second year in a row. And Jalen Daniels, and that offense is looking really good. Kansas, are starting to people are starting to realize, oh, Kansas is actually a really good team. Maybe we need to pay attention to them. And well, that they've shown by all the points they're putting up, the defense seems to be the problem. Their offense seems to get things going, but the defense obviously is not the problem. The offense is not the problem. The defense, hopefully, can get that fixed. But they got Texas this week on the road. The first big test, I think, for Texas since Bama. This is the first big test for the Jayhawks. They came up clutch with that key turnover last week against BYU. I may preface that since I called their defense need to get the fix. But if they can get to create turnovers and the offense do their thing, all is well in Kansas and Lawrence. Now at number 25, you got the Fresno State Bulldogs. Woof woof. And Fresno State, a lot of people expected them to take a step down. No more Jake Hayner. They lost a lot of offensive firepower. The defense lost a lot of their firepower too. But they kept it going with wins over Purdue. Just absolutely routing Kent State this past week. Fresno State seems like they got this thing going, and looks like there ain't nothing in line to stop them. Maybe arguably the best team in the Mountain West, and you may make the argument they're the best non-Power 5 team. But some noticeable teams that were not in the top 25 this week: UCLA, Iowa, were two big ones that come to mind. Kansas State's still not back in yet. So let's see if these teams could get it together. and possibly make a run to get back in. But we will have to see for sure, for sure. But in the meantime, in between time, make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, turn on that notification bell so you never miss another great video. This was the Week 5 AP Poll Top 25 at college football. I hope you all enjoy. And until next time, this has been Sports Talk with Austin, and peace out. I am out this thing.